Hello there, I'm Dr. Dave, the RV Dummy, and in today's show, I'm going to be sharing with you everything, or almost everything, you need to know about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and anything related as an RVer. Now, even if you're not an RVer and you're watching this, or if you're an RVer, you have friends that are curious, that are scared, and we're all scared because it's unknown. We don't really know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but I can certainly help you what's taking place now and with what I think is going to happen in the future. Feel free to share this video with anyone you know, whether they're RVers or not RVers. The reason that this information is so special for my RV friends is that a good percentage of us are on the older side. We're not young kids anymore, in general. And this virus has a propensity to spread and to wreak havoc among people that are older and have certain health problems or are on certain medications. So we're going to get into a lot of that right now. And again, I'm going to keep it really simple, really informal. I don't want this to be like a scientific video. It's going to be down to earth. Dr. Dave, the RV Dummy, sharing with you. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about, first of all, what is the coronavirus? So you hear it on the news, you see all kind of things. And as I'm talking today, as I'm recording this, the stock market has taken a terrible, terrible plunge this week because of so many uncertainties. We don't know what's really happening. And there's a lot of people that are scared, and especially investors are taking their money out of the market, and businesses are scared. So we're going to kind of get into this and cover it all. So what is the coronavirus? Well, the coronavirus is a virus, of course, that causes a disease or an illness. Illness is a better word, called COVID, COVID, COVID-19. It's a respiratory disease. So generally, the lungs are going to be the things that are going to be affected first, and maybe even most. Early symptoms of COVID-19 include fever, cough, shortness of breath, and these symptoms can appear as soon as 2 days after exposure, after infection, or as long as 14 days, or maybe even a little bit more after you've been exposed to the virus. Now, the severity of this virus, of COVID-19, that's the illness actually. So let's get this straight. First of all, the virus is called the coronavirus. The actual illness that you get from it is called COVID-19, as far as I understand it. The severity varies from mild or maybe even almost no symptoms to severe, and unfortunately sometimes, as we're going to show very soon, it can be fatal. But before you get all worried and worked up and everything, hang in there, because it may not really be as bad as you think, as some people think, as long as we take certain precautions. But you need to know what these precautions are. So hang in there. I'm going to cover as much as I possibly can. Again, keeping this as brief as possible. Data on more than 17,000 reported cases in China found that about 80% of the cases were fairly mild. Now, the rest, about 20%, were either moderate or pretty severe or even fatal, which again, we'll get into some more stats there. Older people and those with chronic medical conditions appear to have a higher risk for contracting the virus and developing into the COVID-19. Notice that I said that. I'm going to say that again. Older people and those with chronic medical conditions. The reason I am reiterating that is because, as my RV friends here, and I know a lot of you personally too, I'm going to be 65 in a couple months. So I'm considered on the older side, although I try my best to do certain things, and we're going to touch on this again real quickly, to stay healthy, because I've in my reading, I'm finding the healthier you are and the better your habits are, the less chance you are to contract the virus. And also, if you do get it, if you are very healthy, symptoms and the severity will be much lessened. Older people with chronic medical conditions appear to have a higher risk for developing severe illness. Did I already read that or not? Did I say that? I probably said that, but don't worry. Some people may only have minor respiratory symptoms, while others develop non-life-threatening pneumonia But there's a group of people out there who will actually develop severe lung damage from this disease, from this virus. Now, you're probably thinking about, well, how likely is it that I'm going to die if I get it? Well, first of all, I hope you don't get it. And we're gonna try to minimize the chance of you ever getting this. But if you do get it, again, from my calculations, now this can always change because, again, it's very early on right now as I'm recording this. But by my calculations, it appears to be, the death rate appears to be somewhere between 3 and 4%. So that means only about 3, it's not good. I mean, I shouldn't say only, but luckily it's a fairly small number. 3 to 4% of the people that get this virus, that come down with the disease, the illness, COVID-19, are going to pass away. Not good, but that could be a lot worse. So we got to be kind of thankful for that. So how do you catch this virus? How do you catch the coronavirus? Well, when it comes to human transmission of the coronavirus, it happens when someone comes into contact with an infected person's secretions. So, and the most common way to do that is somebody is talking and they're spitting stuff out, or droplets are coming out of their mouth from a cough. And if that gets into your mucous membrane or into your body somehow by inhaling it, swallowing, or whatever, then there's a very good chance you're going to contract the virus. So a form of droplets. A cough, a sneeze, a handshake could cause exposure. And the virus can also be transmitted by touching something that an infected person has touched, and then touching your eyes, nose, mouth, a sore, anything that's open, anything that's mucous membrane, or can be something that can go into your body easily. So remember this. I'm going to get back to that. Be very careful. Who is at the greatest risk to get this virus? The elderly and the sick, the infirmed. People that have cardiovascular disease are the most likely to not only get this, but to have a real serious ramification from it. Anybody can catch it, but if you've got cardiovascular disease, it can become much more serious. Followed by diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, hypertension. I mean, I never would have thought that high blood pressure is going to make it worse, but yeah, it does. And also people on certain medications, especially some type of immunosuppressant, some type of medication that's going to suppress your immune system. Or if you've got a weak immune system to begin with already, you're really in much greater danger of contracting this and then having it wreak havoc in your body. So keep that in mind. Very, very, very important. How do we prevent this virus? How do we prevent ourselves, me included, from ever getting this virus? Well, number one thing, I mean, there are all kinds of things out there. I'm going to show you certain props that I've got here, some things you can do. But the most important thing, bar none, is, do you know what it is? Do you know what I'm going to say? The most important thing you can do is to wash your hands frequently. Now, I'm bad at this. I'm one of those guys who said, there are always going to be bacteria and dirty things, and I've got a pretty good immune system, so I've been really bad at that in the past. I'm not like a big hand washer. I mean, I am when I have to. I mean, of course, using the bathroom, of course, I would always wash my hands, but typically, then the rest of the day, I'm just not washing my hands frequently. And luckily, it's pretty uncommon that I get sick. But you better believe now, especially since I'm in a lot of public places, I am going to be washing my hands like incessantly, like almost like OCD. Well, not quite that bad, but I'm going to be washing my hands a lot because that is the most effective way to prevent this from ever getting into your body. Regularly and thoroughly cleaning your hands with an alcohol-based hand rub, or simply the old-fashioned soap and water does a great job. I was traveling for work a week ago, and Yoko was kind enough to get me one of these one of these hand sanitizers, and I used it a lot. It's so simple to carry this around. You can get this at any pharmacy, grocery store you want. You put a little bit on your hand there, rub it in, and you are sanitized and ready to go. Now, that's not going to be any kind of guarantee to prevent you from getting ill ever, but it's a good, it helps it's a good barrier. It helps disinfect and clean bad things from your hands for sure. Maintain social distancing. What that means in English is kind of just stay far away from people as far as you can, especially people that is somebody that's coughing or sneezing. Stay away from, stay at least, I say at least a few meters away, a few yards. This was written in meters, but a few yards away, please. Why? Why do you want to do that? Because when someone coughs or sneezes, they spray these small little droplets. You can't see them really, but all over the place. And when you're close enough and you're breathing in, you're going to inhale these things into your system, and then good luck. There's a very good chance you're going to get something. Be careful around children, especially children who have been to school, because schools are like just breeding grounds for illnesses and diseases and bacteria and viruses. Kids are like, they're always sick, and they're never washing their hands, and they're always coming in contact with millions. So if you've got grandkids and you're going to be RVing with the family and you're coming in contact, you're visiting grandkids or kids while you're out in the RV, be very careful. Make sure they clean up. Make sure they're washing their hands. Make sure if they're coughing and sneezing, don't be around them. Just be very, very, very careful with that. I would also, people ask me about, well, Dr. Dave, should I travel other than RVing? RVing, I think you're in kind of a close environment with just your travel partner or yourself or whoever it might be. So that kind of travel is fine, although there are some precautions you need to take. But should you get on a cruise ship, if you're so lucky to find some tickets to a cruise ship? Should you be flying in an airplane? Well, number one, a cruise ship. I'm going to say no, do not take a cruise. I'm not taking a cruise. I'm not a cruise person anyway, but I'm not taking a cruise in the near future until this thing is contained and under control. Why? Because it's a closed environment. Everything's being recirculated and recycled, and there's no way out. So I would stay away from a cruise ship. As far as flying on an airplane, I'm only going to be doing it if it's absolutely necessary for business travel. And I do have some travel events coming up pretty soon. But I'll tell you something, if it gets really, really bad, I'm going to cancel some of my events, and I'm not going to be going on an airplane. Because again, you're just too close to other people, coughing, sneezing, recirculating air. It's a breeding ground for illness, for disease, and I just don't want to be in that kind of environment. So I'm going to be very, very careful, and I hope you are too. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Why? Because hands touch many surfaces all day long, can pick up viruses, and once you're contaminated, hands can transfer the virus to your eyes, nose, or mouth. Easiest places to get this, because again, they're mucous membrane. Very, very good absorption right there. From there, the virus can enter your body and make you sick. Let's try practicing really good respiratory hygiene. And what does that mean? It means make sure you and the people around you are very careful. This means covering your mouth and nose when you sneeze. If you don't, and don't use a reusable handkerchief. I used to use these all the time, and my wife Yoko finally said, "Don't use that. It's sick. It's like there's boogies and stuff all over that, and you put it back in your pocket." No, from now on, I'm using only disposable. And it sounds crazy, but a lot of us use handkerchiefs. I think that's the old days. We shouldn't be using those anymore. I'm going to only be using disposable tissues. Once you use it, throw them out. Don't reuse anything. It's just not worth it. If you have fever, cough, difficulty breathing, seek medical care early. Stay home if you don't feel well. If you have a fever, cough, difficulty breathing, seek medical attention. Follow the directions of your local health authority. Why? Because national and local authorities will have the most up-to-date. See, I'm recording this, and as I'm recording this, it's the very beginning of March in 2020. But it's going to be dated fairly soon. You need to keep up with the CDC website and your local health authority websites, because they're going to have the most advanced, most up-to-date information on a situation that is constantly going to be changing. Calling in advance will allow your healthcare provider to quickly direct you to the right health facility. If you feel that you are ill, make sure you do something about it. Be very careful. Now, I'm getting into some RV stuff now, because we as RVers, we're traveling around. We're in our own RV, but we're also outside of our RV a lot, touching things and being in contact with things that are possibly could be contaminated. For example, When I go to a truck stop or a gas station, I'm gassing up the RV. We're touching the gas pump handle. How many people ahead of me have touched the same thing? How many of them have been infected? How many will be infected? I don't know the answer, but you better believe I'm going to make sure if I can wipe it off, if that's possible. A lot of gas stations now have disinfectant wipes right by the gas tanks. Wipe it off if you possibly can. If not, make sure you clean your hands as soon as you're finished gassing up. And I would do that anyway. When you go into public bathrooms, whether it's at a truck stop, a campground, a gas station, a restaurant, as soon as you finish doing what you have to do in there, make sure your hands are washed with soap and water. Wash them for 20 to 30 seconds without stopping. That's good. Don't do a quick one. No, clean them really, really thoroughly, like your life depends on it. And your life really might depend on this. Keep things super, super, super clean. I'm going to be eating more meals at home, and when we're in the RV, I'm going to minimize my times at restaurants because again, the less other things I touch and come in contact with other people, the better. Now, I'm not panicking at all, as you know, and we shouldn't panic. I still have people that I come in contact with and friends, and I'm not staying home or staying in my RV 24/7. I'm going to be out in public, but the more careful we are and the less contact we make with other people and the further away we stand from them as they're talking to us, just be careful, just be realistic. But anytime you touch something, I would let's say you're on I don't know, let's say you have to take a bus somewhere or a Lyft or somewhere, an Uber, and you're touching things that other people touch. Keep your hands clean. Keep your desanitizer with you at all times. Okay, have I said enough about that? Let's see. Some people ask me about masks. You know, you see people in Japan, you know, Yoko's Japanese. Whenever I travel to Japan, for a couple of decades now, I've seen the Japanese people are always wearing masks. Many of them are always wearing masks. Are they wearing masks because they're sick? Because they're not sick, or because they want to prevent somebody else that's sick from infecting them? Are they wearing it because of maybe some pollution? Well, all of the above. They're wearing masks to stay healthier. Now, should you wear a mask to prevent the coronavirus, the COVID-19? Well, I've got some information from somebody who knows a lot more than I do about it, Dr. Adalja. I picked this up online. I was just reading about the effectiveness of masks and should we all be wearing masks all the time. So what he says is masks are not highly effective for the general public who often don't wear them correctly. He stresses the demand for the N95. And by the way, the mask to be effective has to be categorized the N95 mask, which is able to filter out viruses and very, very, very tiny particles. By all of us buying up these masks, it may create problems that actually the healthcare providers that really, really need them aren't going to be able to get them. He says there's no situation in which a face mask might provide increased protection to the general public, even during air travel. Now, last time I was flying, which was about a week ago or so, Yoko made up this little mask concoction for me. It's not an N95 mask. It's like a typical mask they wear in Japan. And she actually wrapped it's kind of funny, a bandana around it for like added protection. I think it's more psychological. I really don't think it's going to do much, but here's what she read up here. And at least what she told me is, okay, maybe it's not going to actually, can you hear me okay? Maybe it's not going to actually prevent a virus coming through here because the pores are open to viruses. But she said what it'll do, it'll constantly make me think about not touching my mouth, not touching my nose, and since I wear glasses, not touching my eyes. So there's less of a chance I'm going to be touching things and possibly touching them with an infected finger or hand that has a virus on it. So this is good for even, some of these tips are really good to remember, even for forgetting about the coronavirus, but for preventing the flu, the common cold, different types of viruses. These are kind of universal tips that are going to help for anything. But right now, let's say face it, we're all really scared about this coronavirus. Some closing thoughts. I've given you a lot of information about the virus itself. It's not as scary as it sounds, because again, only a very small percentage of people actually get sick enough that they lose their lives, although one life lost from a virus is not good at all. But luckily, like I said, things could be a lot worse. It could be much more dangerous. But some things that we can do just in general in our lives to stay a little bit, to improve our immune system, keep our immune system stronger. Just got a little bit list here. Stay as healthy as you can. Do the things that you know you should be doing, which means eating a healthy diet. I've tried my best to eat a healthy diet for the past, I'm 64 now, almost 65. Since I was in my late teens, I was really in tune to eating healthy food. Am I perfect at it? No. These days I eat pretty much almost a vegan diet with a little bit of fish and seafood thrown in there sometimes, because Yoko is Japanese and it's and I'll tell you honestly, even though I was strictly vegan for 5-6 years, we started throwing in a little bit of seafood and fish here and there, and I feel really, really, really good and really, really strong. So eating properly is very, very important. Exercising, moving your body. If we're in the RV all the time, just driving all day, it's not really healthy. Get out there and take a hike, walk, go to a gym if you can. Move your body, keep your body healthy. Every single thing you can do to help keep your body stronger and healthier is a check mark to possibly prevent getting a virus. Take your meds and supplements. If you're on medication, make sure you're taking your medication. Don't just go off your medication without your doctor's approval. That's really, really dangerous. However, if you are on some drugs that will suppress your immune system, you've got to be extra careful to have barriers and make sure things are totally clean, because you cannot afford to take a chance of getting exposed to this virus if your immune system is already weakened. Get the proper amount of sleep. A lot of us don't sleep enough these days. Get to sleep. I like to get 7 to 8 hours sleep every night. It really does help with my health and my day. If you haven't had a physical exam lately within a year, I like to get one every single year. Make sure you get checked out. There's so many things your doctor should be checking as far as with your heart, your blood pressure, your blood work. If you haven't had a physical, get yourself checked out. There could be something lurking in the background that you just don't even know about. But when you have a physical, you're more in tune to your body. And if there's something going on, they can take care of it before it turns into something pretty serious. I am not really worried right now. However, I'm remaining vigilant. I'm keeping up with the news. I'm not burying my head in the sand and forgetting about it. I think there's a fine line between being obsessed and super, super worried and not doing anything with your life, and not doing anything at all. So I'm just kind of right in the middle. I'm keeping alert. I'm in tune. I'm watching the news. I'm reading, and I'm following all the principles, every single one of the principles that I just talked about. Because if we do this, and remember, the number one thing, just wash your hands and stay away from people. Don't get too close to people that are coughing and spitting and all that kind of stuff. And if you just be careful, I think we in the RV community will be okay. And if you're not an RVer, if somebody shared this with you, you're not an RVer, still, the principles still apply no matter where you are, what you do. I would avoid traveling to foreign countries right now. We just don't know. And if you don't have to be there, if there's not like a really serious reason you have to be traveling abroad, I personally am not doing it. Yoko just recently canceled a trip to Japan. She was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. She canceled a trip to Japan only because she doesn't know. Maybe things are going to get worse, and maybe she would be detained somewhere, maybe couldn't even get back into the U.S. That would be very sad and not a lot of fun for her or for me or for Boo Boo, our cat. I'm going to end it at that. I hope this really helped you. Pass it on to a loved one, to a friend, if you think the information is good. It's always changing. I'll see if I can do updates if possible. We're all together in the RV community. I'm the RV dummy. My goal is to help you any way I can. Write to me, comment here if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer. And until next time, I am Dr. Dave, the RV dummy. See you later.